commission of 5 people, and then we have a county commission of 3 people. We are a board of 3, and we serve the county as a whole. The county is larger area-wise than just the city. Clark County has actually 2 cities and 10 townships as part of the county, and Springfield is, of course, the largest municipality and is the county seat of Clark County. So my interest is in seeing Springfield be a vibrant county seat for Clark County, and we work to administer all of the government services that people take advantage of here within our county. We work closely with the city, we work closely with the state and federal governments to make sure that that's all happening in Clark County, Ohio. Thank you. I needed to speak up a little bit.
It's all right. It's all right.
Yeah, so it's, I'm glad when people want to learn about county government because it is a different thing. I think a lot of people see how things run at the federal level, and so they think everything that we do is very similar to that, and it's not. It's very different. At the local level, we're just local public servants that are trying to make our community better. Okay. And so we serve in these roles to do that, and we provide services like utilities and the dog warden or the dog shelter, the reentry program for people who are trying to get jobs, workforce and economic development. And of course, then we see how new populations and numbers of people impact all of those services and things that we are working on every day.
All right. So you say that, there's a huge difference between, of course, being a commissioner at the city level and the county level. I have to admit that the whole county and city, I'm pretty sure there's a difference. Can you kind of clarify and give us some differences on that level?
Yes. So the Clark County as a whole has a population of about 138,000 people, according to our last census.
Okay.
The city of Springfield, according to our last census, had a population of 58,000 people. Okay. So the county encompasses more than just the city.
So is it like multiple cities?
Yes, we have 2 cities. Okay. There's Springfield and New Carlisle.
Okay.
And then we have townships, which are smaller subdivisions that have their own governments that do different things than what we do. So we cover the county as a whole.
Okay.
In the Clark County Commission, we do not make any laws. Okay. And we have a sheriff who is separately elected. So we don't run a police department like the city runs their own police department. They can make laws according to the needs of the community within the city limits of Springfield. But in Clark County and county government, we take all of our direction from state law. The state law tells us
what to do,
what authority we have.
Okay.
So the biggest authority that we have is setting a budget and providing services for people in our county. So the biggest one that you will notice is Job and Family Services, which includes administering the Medicaid program for the federal government and the state government, and the SNAP program for, which is like food stamps and WIC. So we do those things through the county government. The budget is the biggest part. We have $59 million that we find a way to manage all of our responsibilities with a limited budget, and that budget comes from sales tax. So anytime somebody spends money at Walmart and there's a tax on it, that money, a portion of that money comes back to the county, and then that's what our budget is based on. So the other thing that we have to do with our budget is to support things like law enforcement. So the sheriff, we provide the budget for the sheriff, so the costs associated with cruisers and the jail and things like that. But the sheriff is the one who makes the law enforcement decisions.
The sheriff.
Yes. So that's a little bit different than the city, where there are 5 commissioners and a city manager, and they oversee the police department and the fire department.
Okay. So the sheriff is at the county level too.
The county. And so she has all the way from South Charleston to New Carlisle and Tremont City to Clifton. The
Covered.
sheriff covers all of that. And the Springfield police just cover what's within
Just the city of Springfield.
Yes.
Okay. So how many commissioners in the county, at the county level?
3. We
Three
are a
only.
board of 3 commissioners.
Okay. So these 3 have different departments or a different area?
We all have the same responsibility to look strategically at the community and manage that budget. We do have one direct report who works for us, which is the county administrator. And then she oversees the departments that the county manages.
So the county, you say some of these programs, let's say the GFS program, which is a program that you guys run at the county level, right? So the budget for these programs come from all these cities at the county or from the state level?
Well, it comes from sales tax, for one, and then we also do have some funds that come from the state level.
Okay.
Particularly for the Job and Family Services program, we receive a lot of state funding to help support that. But we also have local funding through sales tax that supports that as well.
Okay. So basically you're saying that the more we sell, the more you have sales in town or in all these regions, right? All these cities, that area, it is good actually for you guys.
Yeah, so
for
that's one of the
county.
benefits of having more people in our community spending money, reinvesting in the community, because the money stays here and gets spent to support our infrastructure for new programs and expanded programs, which I think all are aware that we need right now because we're serving more people than we ever have. I shared those numbers earlier, 138,000 in the county and 58,000 in the city, but I think, there's been a lot of discussion
increasing,
about,
yeah.
are there 15,000
yeah.
Haitian refugees here,
Yeah.
maybe 20,000, and we are trying to get a better handle on that through some of the resources that we have at the state level to see if they can help us get a better number in between the census.
So you say sales tax, but what about the tax that are being collected from the work from their work and job?
Yes,
Income
that's
tax.
called income tax,
Okay.
and that is a tax that's levied by the city.
Okay.
So if you work in the city, like I do here at Cohatch, you and I work here in the same building, that is an income tax that we pay to the city.
Okay. Well, I mean, I believe that by having more, like right now like you said, might be 15 or 20, it might be less too, quite honestly. How does that affected your job as a commissioner?
I think the biggest thing that it has affected has just been helping people get real information. And, there were a lot of rumors and assumptions made, and it's so important to me as a public servant to make decisions based on facts and data and not fear. It's just interesting, the conversation that has kind of transpired over the last couple of months, and it hasn't. I would say maybe 4 or 5 months I've been aware of some really challenging conversations happening in the community. And so I guess I've been a little more sensitive to that. So when all of this came up a few weeks ago, I was not completely shocked that it was happening. But that's at the point where I said, I just can't really be silent anymore because we need to have some difficult conversations with people and recognize that there's a lot of learning that we need to do to understand and welcome our new neighbors. At the same time, have conversations with the Haitian community to help you guys understand some of our culture and some of our the way we do things and our government, for example. It's a challenge to assimilate to a completely new country. I cannot imagine leaving my home country, relocating somewhere, and trying to understand the language and the customs and the driving laws and all
at
those
the same
things.
time.
So, in that way, I'm amazed at the courage that people have had to be able to do that, to uproot their families, and I'm sure that nobody really ever wanted to do that.
I mean, hey, it can be quite a lot to assimilate. We were having a couple conversation prior where we talk about how it's hard for especially the elderly people and to actually assimilate and learn the language, but they have to go through that even though they don't have all the ability anymore to learn fast. But we had to create different programs here at the radio, have different shows to help them understand most of the things, or at least the necessary things to have them evolve in the community. You said something about the rumors or misinformation out there. So what is the most outrageous or rumors or things that you were like, huh? That's crazy.
I mean, the crazy stuff about voodoo and cats and dogs is just, and the first time I heard that, I was like, well, that's absurd.
Yeah.
But how it took root just amazed me. So I've made it my mission to make sure that I refute any kinds of crazy claims and to do the research to make sure that I'm right. One of the other things that concerned me a lot was concerns about healthcare and rumors about high levels of disease within the Haitian community. And we, obviously the health department does have programs getting people screened and make sure that everybody has their vaccinations. And we want to help with all of those things, but we also want to provide the right information to people who are giving bad information. So for one example, I had heard someone said there was an entire wing at the hospital devoted to Haitian women who were having cesareans who had HIV. And I thought, that doesn't sound right. I'm going to get to the bottom of that. So I looked into it. I talked to some really high-level people at the hospital, and they said, no, that's not the case. That's never been the case.
Really?
But what I did learn was that there is a high rate of births among Haitian women. I think a lot of women who have come over here and restarted their lives in the United States are of that age of of parenting age, right?
Yeah.
So obviously they're giving birth, and so about 22% of our live births in Clark County have
22.
been to those who say they're Haitian. Of course, there's other places that you can give birth. The county line doesn't stop somebody from going to Columbus or Dayton or somewhere to give birth. But that's one of the things. And I think, so making sure that we have women's health programs and help people understand that hospitals can be a good place to go. That's one of the things I've learned about your culture is that, hospitals are not a place that you ever want to go in Haiti.
Unless
Unless you're ready to die or you're extremely sick or you're trying not to die.
That's correct.
But hospitals can be a place where we improve our health and we can have happy experiences like having a healthy birth of a baby.
Yes. And I believe that, you guys, especially at the GFS and some of the program, how do you handle when you have a lot of Haitians and that doesn't speak English, to have translators? How do you overcome some of these challenges?
It's very challenging and it's very expensive to have translators. So I think the first thing that we want to do is provide English as a second language programs to anyone of Haitian origin who is interested in learning the English language, because that's the very first step in just getting by better in the United States. Anywhere you go, English is the most common language. Obviously, our country doesn't have an official language like many countries do, but it is the language to get by.
Yeah.
We have brought in translators. We have equipment that's allowed us to do quicker translation, but it's definitely created a backlog for us because it takes. From what they told me, it takes about 3 to 4 times longer to process an application for benefits or Medicaid for someone who speaks Haitian Creole as opposed to someone who speaks English.
Yeah.
And the language is really a dialect as well, so it's even challenging. Those of us who speak
speak a little bit of French
don't do very well with it. I could pick up.
some words?
30-40% of what you were saying.
Really?
In your
That's a lot.
introduction. Yeah, I did okay. I was actually very surprised how well I did. So maybe the learning curve for me wouldn't be so difficult either.
So how did you learn about how did you learn French? Did you?
It was the class that
Class you took?
it was the foreign language class that I was required to take in high school, and I took 3 years of it.
Really? That's impressive. That's impressive.
But I am definitely not fluid at listening. I can speak
You can
pretty
speak
well,
better.
but better than I can listen.
Anyway, that's impressive because I've met one of the lady that came to the radio and could speak Creole, but again she couldn't listen. The listening was kind of hard for her, but she could speak clearly, and I was like, okay, that's good, right?
I think accents and dialects
Yes.
just make it so much more difficult.
Harder, yeah, definitely. So now that we know the Haitians are, especially for the last 2 weeks, they've been able to. Some people have actually had to put their lives, and stay back and not fully engage in the community, not going to churches, not even going to work for some of them, and some of the kids had to stay at home. And did you anticipated that reaction or that level of fear in the community after that allegations from the debate?
No, I mean, I first want to say I'm sorry that people have gone through that. I think it must be
Definitely
very
hard.
difficult
Yep.
and hurtful to feel that way and to hear things like that said. I language as well as a leader in the community who is
Is it
trying
you?
to find solutions
Really?
and just even being compassionate for someone's journey made me subject to some really hateful comments and phone calls and emails and things that I would never have imagined. I know some of our city commissioners have really experienced that level of threats and hatred. So nothing compared to what those in the Haitian community have gone through. But I want people to know that we are taking every step that we know of how to take to keep people safe and to make things a better, safer place here.
Yes, that was going to be my next question in terms of safety itself here in the Springfield or even the Clark County area. What are the steps or decisions that you guys have taken to actually make our residents safer here in the Clark area? Because at the end, it's not only the Haitians, it's non-Haitians too. They are, also suffering from some of this because the school bomb threats and all that. So how do you?
I think the key is to remember a lot of this is just words. It's threat hoaxes. It's hateful words, and the United States, we celebrate our very first amendment as freedom of speech, and I celebrate freedom of speech, but I also celebrate the Second Amendment, which is protecting ourselves. So we have to, I think we just have to be vigilant, careful. We have done a few things within the county to provide added security within our buildings and to be mindful of how people are interacting. We've staffed some of our buildings with additional security, law enforcement. The sheriff's office has been great about increasing the volume of people who are out there. Some overtime, of course, all of those things cost us more money and use additional resources, but public safety is the number one priority for the county. I'm sure it's the same for the city, and we can't overlook opportunities to do that. When a couple people from the sheriff's office had come in to talk to us about budgeting for some things, the conversation led to, I said, make the law enforcement decisions that you need to make to keep people safe in every corner of our community.
Yes.
Don't worry about the budget. We will, that my job is to figure that out. And while, sometimes we have to make difficult budget decisions,
Yes.
I would not want those to cut corners on law enforcement decisions. I don't ever want them to feel strapped that they can't do what they need to do because of money. That's just...
I mean, I'm pretty sure that this is definitely costing the city or even the county money. It's probably something that wasn't anticipated or,
It's hard to put a dollar figure on it at this point, but I am sure it's millions, tens of millions of dollars that have occurred because we didn't see a lot of this coming. And, that's not just because the Haitian community is using the resources, but also because other people are making it difficult for you to access the resources. And as far as seeing it coming, I think a lot of people thought we had a crystal ball, and I really just became more aware of the integration in the new community in the last couple of years. So as I've tried to learn and get myself up to speed as quickly as possible, but it's hard.
Hey, we really appreciate your job and your work in that area and that field, and especially during this time, and we also appreciate the support that the community, some people in the community being able to show in our businesses at the Rose restaurants. Some people it was pretty much their first time tasting a Haitian food, or drinking Haitian beer, right? Prestige. Have you tried any Haitian food yet?
No, I need to check that out.
You should go ahead and try the griot and plantain.
Okay.
You know plantain?
I do.
Yes.
I've been to the Dominican Republic on the other side of the island, but
really, yes, we have some similarity.
Not
in
for real,
cuisine.
Just where there were white sand beaches and.
Yes. So, speaking of that, I've read that you grew up on the farm.
I did.
So, how did Dad grow from a farm to become a commissioner?
Well, interestingly, I'm a fourth generation of a farm family. So my dad is a farmer. My brother is a farmer. My grandpa was a farmer.
Wow.
But my grandpa was a farmer who retired and became a county commissioner.
Oh,
so when I was a teenager, my grandpa was a county commissioner, and I kind of followed him around and found what he did really interesting. And I always found politics kind of interesting and invigorating. And then, 20 years after he was gone, somebody asked me to run for county commissioner. I thought, well, that would be pretty neat.
I have it in my blood.
I knew right what I was getting into, although I could never have predicted this.
Hey, that's interesting. So, as a commissioner living this time right now with all these circumstances, do you still love your position as a commissioner?
That's a great question. It's been difficult. I will say that it has been much more difficult the last several months than it has been the whole 8 years. And I feel like we've kind of been through the challenges, the biggest challenges. It's been 8 years. So I'm going into November election. I'll be on the ballot, but without an opponent. So
it will be you again.
I'll have another 4 years to serve.
So it's every 4 years.
Yeah. So the farm, growing up on a farm and learning how to work hard and work with people and develop policies that help our industry was just really great experience and learning for public service. And we were always a family that was just very focused on how can I serve my community? How can I leave this world a better place than I found it?
I mean, in Haiti, we have a lot of farmers. Probably most of us at some point were farmer, or our parents or grandparents had some piece of lands, raising and all that. Now that you're commissioner, but you're also a mother of, you said 2 or 3?
I have 3.
3. and also a business owner, how do you manage to be a commissioner? To serve the public and the public service, to be able to run your business and having the kids. Are they grown kids?
They are 19, 18, and 16.
Wow.
So we're getting there.
Okay.
At least they can all drive.
So how do you balance all these responsibilities?
It's challenging, but keeping my priorities straight is what's
Yeah.
important to me. And I've always said, as I'm out serving the community, if it's not making the community better for my family, then why am I doing it? And so that's been a good way for me to determine whether or not something should have my attention or focus, or
Okay.
if my children should have my attention and focus.
Definitely. So one of the things that I noted is about the difference in the how do you call this, the law enforcement, from the county level to the city, the state. Can you just pretty brief give us
Yes.
a couple idea of some of these
The
branches?
laws are the same.
Okay.
It's really just a matter of who has the ability to enforce it within that area.
Okay. That's
So,
jurisdictions, right?
For example, one of the issues I think we could agree that is a challenge is driving and licensing. And I would just implore anyone in the Haitian community, if you do not have a license, do not get behind the wheel.
I agree.
If you have not been through driver's training, do not get behind the wheel. We've had such a large number of accidents. And I'm sure that the same is true of others who don't have English as a first language, because all of our signage on the roadways is in English. So
Yes,
it makes
they
it much
are.
harder, right,
They
to
are, yeah.
navigate all of that. So that's one of the things. The laws are the same. I think it's less what it means to us in the public as it is to the jurisdictions that are covering those areas. So it gives, the city police officers know, well, we go this far
Okay.
to cover and enforce the laws. And out in the county, the sheriff office and deputies are out there patrolling and enforcing the laws. So
Okay.
primarily they're the same. The city does have the ability to legislate, which is to be able to make laws, and they tend to do that more for things like code enforcement
Okay.
or for housing. Like you'll see some communities across the state that have, everybody has a brick house. You go to Huber Heights, for example, there are really pretty much very similar homes. That's because of the rules and laws that they have put in place within their city
Okay.
to keep things similar. So Springfield doesn't have extreme code enforcement requirements, but those are some of the areas where they might be able to make adjustments as they see a challenge arise. We at the county do not have that ability to do that.
To do the code and any of that.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, of course, we talk about one of your responsibility as a commissioner. We talk about you as a mom and farmer. But tell us a little bit about your business, Shiftology, right?
Shiftology.
It's quite unique as a name, Shiftology. What is this name mixed mean?
Well, we made it up. So it's a made up word. If you divide it and think about shift being a change and ology being kind of a science term,
yeah.
It's the science of change.
Wow.
So we embrace change. We embrace the process of change, which includes research, planning, implementation, evaluation, and it's kind of a circular process of making adjustments. So in public relations, we are trying to change people's opinions and attitudes and ideas on many different challenging issues. We work a lot with agricultural organizations across the United States. We work a lot with rural health organizations across Ohio. And we work with communities on those things. So trying to change people's opinions, attitudes, and ideas on issues, it's a process, and it can take years. It can take decades. And I don't shy away from that. So I guess that's why we chose the name Shiftology, that we know that
You're making
it
a
can be
difference.
done and
Yeah.
you can change the way people look at things. It may take some time. So for example, in Springfield, Ohio, I do believe that in the next 10 or 20 years that we're going to have a completely different view on the diversity and value that the Haitian community brings to us.
That's interesting. That's interesting. It's one of the things that we'll discuss here at the radio to highlight the positivity, the things that the Haitians bring, create, the culture, etc., and knowledge too. Knowledge. So, what advice do you have for a young professional, growing up on the farm right now, or listen to you right now and want to pursue or make it at least an impact in the community like you're doing right now?
Yeah, well, I think you start by volunteering. You start by finding issues or things that you think either just don't sit right with you or they need some attention and you're passionate about them. Find opportunities to volunteer, find opportunities to get involved and have those conversations and keep an open mind, because I am certain that I've learned more from people who are not like me than I have learned from people who are just like me. And that's how you find opportunities to make an impact and make a difference. And roll up your sleeves and try some things. When you do, then I think that's how you find your passion and find a way to make a difference in the community.
Definitely, I agree with you. One last one is for the Haitians living here in Springfield, and most of them. I mean, I know some of the people that already that had to leave town, quite honestly, due to some threats that came to them directly, some attacks and stuff like that. What would you tell, those living here in Springfield right now and contributing legal, here in town? And, like I always say, most of the Haitian and probably half of them right now, there were Haitians living in different region in the States, or even Haitian Americans too that, came from different city to come to Springfield. What would you tell them today, in the midst of all this chaos happening and willing to leave Springfield? What would you tell them?
I think a lot of the same things that I tell others who have my background is there are good people and there are not so good people in every culture, in every community. And you have to get to know people as individuals because you can't judge an entire race or culture based on one experience that you have.
Yeah.
We have to endeavor to get to know people as individuals, as humans. And once you have a human face on someone, it's much more difficult to put them in a category and not see them as human beings. So, now that we've talked, we have a relationship, we're going to see each other as we come and go and pass in the hallway. And, it's much more difficult to, see someone as other when you embrace the ability to get to know someone. So, I think, I wouldn't want people to be afraid to be part of our community. I do believe that will change. But just like I tell others around me not to fear what they don't know, I would say the same for those in the Haitian community who hear some of these horrible things, that is a small group of very noisy people and not
necessarily
those who are, most of the people in this community are kind, caring, supportive, and compassionate people.
I mean, sure, we've been able to, meet, like I tell all the reporters, the real Springfield, from me, in my case, from the last 3 years I've been living here in Springfield, I've been able to meet the real Springfield. It's welcoming and, with open arms, pretty much. I say that it was the last question, but I think I have a last word for you. The Haitians right now, they are and I believe that most of them just came to focus on job opportunities and work here in Springfield because that's what they've been looking for, and that's why they even came to Springfield. So right now, what are the things that the Haitian community itself could do to create more relations, to their neighbor here in town, the longtime resident of Springfield or the area? What are the things that you believe that we could do to create some cultural exchange, to cross activities that we could do?
Yeah, I would love to continue to talk about that, but I probably have 100 ideas on culture exchange, but a couple of those things are just, at your job, get to know someone and, find that kind of American mentor, someone who can help open some doors for you and explain things that you might be intimidated to ask someone else. You might be intimidated to ask your boss, but maybe your coworker, you would say, okay, I don't know how to go about getting a license, or I don't know how to go about doing this, or why do Americans do these weird things? Find that person that you can trust and build a relationship with them, ask questions. I think those are the ways that we can begin that cultural exchange that'll help open, and that helps obviously the member of the Haitian community, but also those of us who need to learn.
Definitely.
So the job is probably the first place to do that. And then, of course, neighborhoods and communities. And I know that our community can be a little more insular when it comes to being neighborly, which is very different than I think how most of you grew up and experienced life in Haiti.
Yeah.
So I would love to see us go back to more of that like front porch neighborly environment like I'm used to out in the country. But maybe that's something you guys can bring to our community that'll help.
Definitely. Hey, I really appreciate receiving you today. Any last word for the people?
No, just thank you for opening the dialogue. I hope that we can continue the conversation.
Sure. Well, thank you, Melanie Wilt, here at NDL. Thank you for listening to our show. Merci d'être attendé show à jeudi. C'est un podcast bien cool que nous fait. Côté que nous poser quelques petites questions. And I'm pretty sure that we will have Melanie anytime whenever we have some more question or in different program too. If you had, si nous avons une question pour Melanie, nous pouvons écrire dans les commentaires. Et puis comme ça, nous sommes capables toujours programmer un autre chita avec Melanie. Elle est commissionnaire, elle est business woman là, dans Cohatch, Springfield, Ohio. Et c'est un réel plaisir pour nous te gagner aujourd'hui. So, restez suivre ce programme sur NDL. C'était Miguelito Jérôme.
Merci.
Merci.
Thank you.
Thank you for